We're gonna make never fail pie crust. This is my mother's cookbook that she had published. Grammy Boofy's Recipes by Boofy McCann. That would be her grandmother, my great-grandmother. Author's note is I'm including this recipe because I was never good at pie crusts, as good at pie crust as Grammy. Sorry, Gram. Grammys were always flaky and perfect. Mine were hit or miss until the day Shelley called and told me she had a great pie crust recipe that you could, quote, bounce off the walls and it would still work good. I tried this recipe and I've never bothered to make a pie crust any other way. Shelley got this recipe from one of her aunts in Canada and it's supposed to be a secret, so if you use it, do it quietly. We wouldn't want to be responsible for a family feud, now would you? You got to make the pie in 2 separate bowls and then you mix them. And it calls for a cup of shortening, but I'm going to try a cup of butter because I want to experiment. My last pie experiment, I used lard instead of shortening, and that was good. It came out about the same. You could taste that it was lard, but it wasn't too lardy. This time I'm going to try butter. I should have unsalted butter for this, but I don't, so I'm just going to put less or no additional salt into it to try and make up for that. So, first prep, we do flour, shortening, and salt. 1 and half. And the other one, we need the half a cup of flour. It says 1 to 2 pinches of salt. I'm just going to put a little bit in because we're going to use salted butter instead of unsalted. Normally if you use shortening, there's no salt in that, obviously. So let's see. This one also has the cup of shortening, so we're going to do, and you got to use everything when you do pie crust, keep it cold as you can. I'm going to cut this up too so it's a little easier. So 2 sticks of butter makes our cup of fat that we need. You can get him if you, he did just eat, he needs to poop. It's just gonna be a little easier if I break it up. I could break it up more and make it even easier on myself, but why would I do that? So the reason you keep things cold is then you get chunks of whatever fat you're using, and they kind of stay, they keep the crust apart from each other, and that is what makes little air bubbles, and that's why that is why the crust gets flaky, because all little trapped bits of fat make the little pockets. It would just be solid if you didn't have the fat. So you gotta use a solid fat, you can't just use oil or something. So. Our cat Felicia is crying in the bathroom right now because she is in quarantine when she eats until she loses some weight. What I would really like as a kitchen tool, and it's not that expensive, so I'm just gonna get one, is a little pastry cutter. So it's like a thing, right? You hold onto it and it's got little metal bits, and you just, because I'm trying with a fork to mash this butter up. I just can't get a good angle on it. So I'm just trying to break up all the big chunks of butter that are left. You want it to be kind of crumbly, like that kind of texture, and you want all the flour to have at least a little bit of butter on it. You know, you don't want any dry flour left. I'm gonna call this part done. So now we need to. This was a cup of flour with the cup of butter. No, cup and a half of flour with a cup of butter. This is a half a cup of flour hanging out. We want to put half a cup of really cold water. So we'll let it run a little bit. Pull it off. Mix that all up. It makes kind of like a paste. Much easier to mix. So that was our first prep and our second prep. Mix very well, mix very well. So then mix preps in separate bowls. When second prep is mixed, add to the bowl of the well-mixed prep 1 and knead until soft and flexible. I mean, you're supposed to be eating your supper so that they shouldn't come out. There's that. I'm going to see how this dough with the butter, or crust or whatever, compares to the other. Because the other two, the reason they might act different is both the lard and the shortening are pure fat. The butter has some like milk solids in it, maybe a little bit of water. Ghee would be the pure fat version of butter, but I don't know. Who knows? It could be better than any other crust that I've ever made. Hello, Bean. I'm going to put it in the fridge for half an hour. That's going to let the flour hydrate. All the water is going to get in there, and also it's going to cool that butter back down so that it'll be solid like we want it to be. Ta-da! I'm going to refrigerate it for half an hour, then I'll roll it out and we'll make some pie. Do you see how it's supposed to be flowers?
Yes.
When I was little, I swore it was a man in armor. Do you see the man in armor? There's his head.
I see.
And there's his shoulders, and his arms, and his little legs.
His legs, yeah.
And Dad always said
Fair
no.
enough.
I said this is the way it goes because he's a man. And Dad said no, it's flowers. And I said no, it's a man in armor.
Okay.
Do you see him?
I do see it. I actually do see it. I would create a character in Dungeons and Dragons to look like that. That's pretty sweet.
He looks like he's some sort of like a constructor or a warforged or something.
Yeah.
So this is coming out of the fridge. It is solid, which is kind of what we're going for. I'm going to cut it. Yes. I put some flour down. Dad, I want a breadboard so that
What's that puppy ass?
Heather has a breadboard that you made for her. I would like one too. Pie crust. Here is 100% of pie crust, yes? Mm-hmm. What I used to do is split it directly in half and then roll them out. I used to cut them in half and then I would roll out the bottom crust so thin to try and stretch it because you have to cover the bottom and you have to cover all the sides. And the top just has to cover the top. So what I do is I usually cut it to be 2/3 and 1/3, and the 1/3 is going to be the top crust, and then the 2/3 is going to be the bottom crust. So that's going to go over here.
Yeah, I know. It's shining bean. No, you probably don't want to lick the counter. Okay.
Put a little bit of flour over the top. This is my special rolling pin, and I'm gonna roll it. Oh, it's a heart. Mm-hmm. This is stiffer than the dough usually is. I'm wondering if that is the butter. Pizza pie. I said 'tis not a pizza pie. It's a regular pie. So plenty of dough. Before I put the filling in, I'm just going to make sure I have enough dough for the top.
Pie happens when you sleep.
Yes, when you wake up, pie.
Magical pie.
Yeah, that's going to be big enough for the top.
Oh, yeah.
So, what we need to do is get the filling.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
This is frozen last year's
Oh, yeah.
Thanksgiving.
This will taste glorious.
It will.
Oh, it will.
I should have just opened the bag, but it seemed like it was going to come out easier this way.
This actually is making a great video. It's almost like watching Aliens. Oh, yeah. That is Thanksgiving. This smells like pie. Dear God, it smells like pie.
Whoops. I made a leak. The rest of it will become pie crust. Oh no, I'm leaking.
Look at you go making pie. Being all professional.
And then you gotta cut steam holes in it, or else it'll just rip in a weird way. This is for steam to come out. I didn't even mean to do that, but look, it's right in the middle. Okay, I'm gonna put it in the oven. Listen, it's bubbling inside.
Is it bubbling? That is a sexy pie.
And you have to compare this pie crust, which was made with butter, to the last two, which were made with shortening and then lard. Look,
Well, the point is reaction. Is it good?
hot.
It's hot. I'm gonna try mine. That is good pie right there, let me tell you.
When you get to the crust, let me know what you think.
That is delicious. Psst, psst, psst. Rukia. Oh yeah. Pie. So what I thought would be the end of the video is not. I prefer, now that I have been told what the three flavors are, I prefer butter in my pie. Butter is tasty. That's a sexy pie. Oh yeah. Ending part 2. I had to have a piece of apple pie. Literally the kind that Mom makes after having 2 pieces of turkey pie. So yeah. Oh yeah, let's just end it on that pie. Oh yeah. Because it's pie. Oh my.